That's how I did one that video.
Basic slave trade.
So Miss Hudson has allowed me to come in and talk to you guys again, which is awesome. Super excited about it. But I wanted to kind of recap some of the stuff you guys have been going over. One of the things that really caught me as I've been with you guys the last week was we were talking about Africa's resources. Does anybody remember some of the big resources of Africa? Diamonds, right?
Yeah.
Diamonds is one of their big things that they export, right? Mm-hmm. So I went online and I was kind of looking up how they go about mining diamonds and that kind of stuff. How they actually get them, right? Turns out it's pretty hard and it's not very much fun. So I have a video that I was going to show you guys. It's really short, and it's just a video of people mining diamonds, and just to kind of see the work that these guys have to go through to mine diamonds in Africa. And so I'll pull that up for you real quick. Can you guys just watch this and take a minute to kind of see how they do things over there? Sorry, you get it right there. So this is what their diamond pit looks like. It's just a hole in the ground with water. And all these guys are going to be working there. It's just music. There's not any talking, so there's not really much going on there. Just watch you guys. It's hard. These guys are in the heat. Like, a lot of these guys go all day long, like from sun up to sundown, and that's what they do all day. Does anybody here have a job at all? Does anybody work like mow yards or anything in the summertime?
Me?
No. You do? Is it fun to be out there all day?
No.
No, it's not, right? I used to mow yards in the summertime too, and I hated it. It was real hot. And it's real hot where those guys are. Look at that dude. He's got like 30 pounds of rocks in there that he's just slishing around, hoping he can find a diamond.
At least in the water.
Yeah, and they're knee deep in water. Who knows what's in that water? But see, they get a big bunch of dirt and they put it in a pan like that, and they try to get all the dirt out of it. That's why they run it through that water. They're getting all the dirt out of it so they can see the rocks. And they're looking in those rocks to see if any of those rocks happen to be diamonds. And they'll go pan by pan, hour by hour, in the heat. Looking for a diamond. So now you want to grab something? The diamond miner with you?
No.
No?
It looks fun. How do you
So that they're lucky enough to have a tractor over there. Some places don't even have a tractor where they can dig up holes and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just gonna pause it right there. Most of these people are young. They're not much older than you guys. Most of them start out there around your age, and they send them out into the pits like that, in the dirt and the mud. This place is a better run operation, so they've got a little bit older people working in there. But you can see some of those kids are not much more than 13, 14, 15. And so that's what it's like over there in Africa. So I want to give you guys kind of a visual of what it's like. And I want to talk about why it's like that over there. Okay? And that's where history comes in, because we look at Africa and we go, oh man, it's a poor nation. And it would stink to be a kid over there having to work, right? Would anybody want to do that every day?
No.
They don't make a lot of money doing it either. They get paid pennies on the dollar, and a lot of them are lucky just to eat at the end of the day. And so you can trace some of that back to one of the things that I know we talked about last time, but the Atlantic slave trade. Does anybody remember the Atlantic slave trade?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, what was the Atlantic slave trade? Does anybody remember what it was? What did they do?
They had a boat where people were on
They had a boat, right? Europeans came over, and they got all the slaves from Africa,
and they traded.
And then they traded it with people for other stuff.
and they would trade them for other things. They would trade them. They would come, and they would take their rum or whatever and trade it for people. And they would take the people over here. And one thing it did is all these European traders are coming over here, and what do you think they see when they go over there? What do you think they saw?
People.
Saw people, but what else did they see?
Slaves.
Okay, what else they experienced? Do you think they ate their food? You think when they went over there, because they had to be over there for weeks at a time. If you went to another country for a week, what
Oh
do you think
yeah,
you'd
and
see?
some people died on boats.
Some people died on boats, but they also saw things like diamonds. They also saw, huh? So when they're going over there and they're getting these people, they're learning about what's in Africa at the same time. While they're exporting these people and hurting all these people and making all these people slaves, they're also learning, man, there's diamonds over here. There's wealth over here. There's stuff there's more stuff than just people we can exploit. Okay? So when they did that, one thing that happened was they were learning more about the African culture as they were coming over there. And not always in a good way. A lot of them wanted to exploit them for money. And one thing I took from this was that it kept the people divided. Does anybody know what some of the Africans did to the other Africans while they were doing the Atlantic slave trade?
Eating them.
That's different.
Ew. Oh my God, you gotta live, you gotta live.
Have y'all talked about how some people sold their own tribes? Y'all haven't talked about that at all? So in Africa, and I think this is really important because you see the Atlantic slave trade pop up in a few places. When y'all talked about it like months ago, when I was here a couple months ago, y'all talked about it in like Europe and over here, but we didn't really talk about Africa. Well, in Africa, these European traders would come over and they would bring rum or spices or whatever it is that these Africans wanted. And some of the Africans would sell other Africans.
Oh yeah.
Could you imagine that?
They also trade other people from other countries.
Uh-huh. So it would be like if we're in this class and someone offered Fernando, so let's say someone came to this class and said, I'll give each of you guys $100 if you'll sell Mr. Justin as a slave.
No.
I can definitely go.
Thank you.
Would you guys do it? Would you guys sell me as a slave for $100?
No.
Fernando might.
Maybe.
I would.
Maybe.
Are you tripping? I need to
Maybe. But think about that. Some people did. They thought that it was worth it for Fernando to make $100 just to sell me.
Not for Fernando.
Well,
He's the least expensive that everybody needs to get $100.
Spend money on snacks.
Right?
He probably need like $1 a nickel.
So,
Or just a penny.
yeah, so it kept these people divided because some of the people realized they could profit by selling their own brothers and sisters to make some money. And some people did that, even though usually it wasn't a technical brother or sister, usually it was another tribe. But they found out they could sell their own countrymen to make a buck, and they did. And it really damaged them because it kept them all divided. It divided the people, and it allowed these Europeans
They
to
use
profit.
people to like find gold, diamonds.
They would exploit them.
How much food they get to like their tribe?
Sometimes it wasn't very much because the people were very poor.
Like $35 or something?
It depended.
Oh, but they-
Sometimes they'd ask a high price, but usually it was really low. Usually they'd come sell some spices and some rum and get some people.
What is wrong
What
with
is
it?
wrong?
Rum is like an alcohol. It's not good.
I thought you were talking about Roman noodles.
No, not ramen noodles. So when you think about, and I gave you guys some worksheets here, and you don't have to fill these out, but some of these, especially the words in bold, I know are words that you guys are probably going to see on tests or things like that. So you may want to consider just filling them out. Just write a sentence or two. But it says, how do you think the Atlantic slave trade affected the Africans? How do you think it affected the people over there?
It's not even having less people. Which means,
Right, it damaged their population. Do you think less people, they had a better chance to defend themselves?
No.
Right, more people means you can defend yourself better, right?
Everybody died.
So it affected them negatively because it damaged their manpower. They were very small. Do you think that meant the people trusted each other over there? If you know other people in the tribe are going to sell you, you think you trust the tribe next to you?
No, so they keep their guard up.
They keep their guard up, right? What happens when that happens? When you keep your guard up? Does that help for war? Does that make things?
Sometimes it means war.
Sometimes it means war, right? If I knew that your granddad sold my brother, do you think I'm going to want to go to war with you?
Yes.
Right? So it probably made a lot of hostility. So if you guys want to fill that out, you can fill that one out. And you had talked about it, you said what? That it took away some of their people, right? And damaged their manpower? So you think that made them weaker so another person could take over?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what we're going to talk about next.
Colonists.
Colonists. Colonialism. And I got this picture here for you guys. This one's kind of extreme, but this is kind of what colonialism is personified. Okay? So colonialism is when one nation basically rules over another nation that's not theirs. You saw it with America. Europe came over and they brought some people and started the colonies, right? And the colonists got mad. Why?
Because they were taking over their land.
Because they felt like they got treated unfairly by Europe, right?
Oh yeah. And that's when they wanted to do it.
Because in colonialism, one of the things you often see is exploitation, right? So when they went over to Africa, they knew there was diamonds and slaves, so they wanted to exploit the people. So colonialism, you see it here, this is like the European leaders, and you can think of these as the people or the countries, and they're serving, they basically become a form of slaves to their colonial masters. Now, sometimes colonialism can benefit the other tribe, like the tribe if the colonial leaders are nice and want to help out and build the infrastructure there. But a lot of times you'll see exploitation instead. And that's what you saw in Africa, is they said, hey, we think these people are lesser than. Let's get some diamonds. Let's get some slaves. Okay? So do you think that made Africa a stronger or weaker country?
Weaker.
Or
The
you made a
last
weaker.
Tarzan that was made was about that.
Yeah, and that's right. The last Tarzan that was made was about that. It made them a weaker country. Okay? They didn't come in and say, hey, we're going to build up the roads for you. We're going to, teach you all our industrial stuff that we have. They said, no, we're going to come in and we're going to take your diamonds and we're going to expand our nation at your expense and expand our power at your expense.
So they would have two, like,
Kind of. It's kind of like,
they would have someone stay behind and someone go to the U.S.
so like Europe would send some of their settlers, you know how they sent settlers to America? They would send businessmen and settlers over to Africa to try to establish colonies, and they would basically put the tribes people in the servanthood positions. And so that's kind of what you saw. And so I think what's the next question on your thing?
How do some impact West and Central Africa?
Okay, so how do you think colonialism impacted Africa?
Oh, it made them want to
They exploit people.
They exploited people. Very good. Made them stronger or weaker? Made them weaker, right? Do you think it made the country more stable? No. Because you think the people liked being servants? You think they liked being slaves? So you think they were more apt to revolt and start wars?
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of times they did. A lot of times these African tribes would try to resist. And eventually they would get independence, but
It wouldn't be for a long time.
this was one of the costs, and this is what the next thing I want to talk about. Infrastructure.
That's what you're doing.
So talk about infrastructure and independence. So eventually, Africans got tired of it. They resisted, and over time, they were able to win their nations back and win parts of West Africa and the sub-Sahara region back. But do you think the time and the wars made do you think their infrastructure was good? Do you think they had a lot of stuff?
No.
No. What is infrastructure? Anybody know?
I like your root stuff. Like
They're
your
strained.
It's like their roads. Think like the physical things. Actually, I have it here in my pocket. Hold on. I'm going to give you an actual definition. So infrastructure this is like a Google's definition of it, is the physical structures needed for society's operation. So that's going to be lights, roads, industry, like all your power plants and things like that. So do you think the wars left that stuff in good shape?
No,
No. You think their roads were probably damaged?
Yeah.
You think the Europeans set them up with good power plants and things like that? No. No. They wouldn't give them anything like that. And a lot of times when you have wars, that stuff gets destroyed. And so, how do you think they tried to pay for stuff? Do you think they were able to compete with their industry and build cars or anything like that? Do you think they could do that?
no,
So what do you end up having to get rid of?
like, some
What can you sell to make money if you're an African person?
Diamonds.
Diamonds. You can sell your natural resources. Can we remake the natural resources?
No, they're not
Are-
renewable.
They're not renewable, right? They're not renewable. So what happens to the country as you sell off your natural resources? Do you think your country is in better shape or in worse shape? Worse shape, right? Do you think, we've talked about, did anybody see your textbook talked about the certification? Does anybody know what that
Oh,
is?
yeah.
What was that? Remember? Well, it's kind of like when they had to abandon because people overused the resources, and then the desert kind of expanded because they damaged the ecosystems. When
Remember
you
we were
dam-
talking about deforestation?
Oh,
Kind of the
yeah.
same concept.
Yeah.
Same concept.
I'm done.
It's a lot like deforestation. So it's a lot the same idea. So these people had to sell all their natural resources. And one of the things that happened as a result was they got in a lot of debt.
It was dead.
Does anybody know what debt is?
Wait, that
That was
was
like you have to pay it back
Stuff you have to pay back. Why do you have to pay it back?
because you borrowed.
Because you borrowed it. Borrowed money is debt. This is really important for life and not just for history. But if you borrow money, somebody is going to expect you to pay it back.
Like if you take money, withdraw money from the bank.
If it's your money in the bank,
No, like you ask the bank for money.
if you ask the bank for money on a
That's a
loan,
loan.
like borrowing money, then you have to pay it back. And they normally make you pay it back with interest.
That's how you teach us to me.
Most people don't pay cash for a car, they
They
borrow.
borrow money. So let's say you buy a $1,000 car, you borrow $1,000 to pay for that car. The bank over time is gonna make you pay that $1,000 back, plus some interest, so it's normally not $1,000, it's like $1,100 instead.
That's
So
a
it's
math
not
lesson.
fun to borrow.
That's a math lesson.
It's not fun to borrow, yes, that's a math lesson, but. So debt, if you owe a lot of money, do you think you're rich or do you think you're in poverty?
People?
Poverty?
Yup.
Poverty. You're in poverty. If you owe money, you're gonna be in poverty. And so a lot of these African nations owe lots of money, and we saw those people working, right? Did those people look rich that were working in that mine?
No.
Oh, they owed a lot of money.
Can we donate some to the Africans?
Huh?
Like we can donate some stuff there?
You could donate, yeah. But the countries as a whole are in a lot of debt. And so, as you get a lot of debt, you get the conditions for poverty.
What?
And poverty is what is seriously affecting that country right now. So anybody have the last question on your thing?
I already done all of them.
Is poverty common in West and Central Africa, and what are some of the effects of poverty?
Okay, so does anybody remember, is poverty common in Africa, West and Central Africa? No? No? Yes, it is very common. Africa has some of the most impoverished people in the world. In fact, I think it's 1 in every 3. Yeah, about 1 in every 3 in the sub-Saharan region is considered hungry. They go hungry every night. I mean, not just poor, but not enough money to eat.
Can't they use the diamonds?
He's teaching, you're being rude.
Can't they use like the diamonds that they find?
Huh?
Can't they use the diamonds that they find?
Well, that's how they try to pay for some of it. But because they've had all these years of exploitation, they normally don't get a lot of money for the diamonds that they find.
You can't even afford enough for a can of beans.
A lot of them can't, no. A lot of them can't. A lot of them, you know, are lucky to have clothes on their back. They're lucky to have any, like, rice for their meal.
Rice? They can afford rice.
If they're lucky.
That's why we have a food drive every year.
I'm saying they can
Every
afford
year.
rice, but they can't afford a can of beans. It's talking like 25 cents.
It
Dude,
costs
'cause they don't have
25
money
cents
now.
is a lot for
But
them.
he said it costs rice. Rice is
But
more
think
than a
about
can
that.
of beans.
Your mom and dad might make $15 for an hour. They might make $15 for a month.
That ain't nothing.
Hey,
What's up?
but there it is.
So you know how we get food stamps over here? Do they get
They don't really have systems like that in a lot of
But
places
as
now.
long as you do
Now, there's
that.
people that donate to them to try to help out.
Last question.
She
What?
just said
Does
they
anybody
told
else have any other
us
questions about Africa or
He told them they
you wanna see the diamond video?
I said they have food stamps.
This is your thing.
They gonna lose it.
Alright, I'll let you guys see the diamond video one more time as the last thing. There's still a couple minutes left on it.
That's kind of weird. It's awesome.
But just again, think about these guys and the poverty that they live in. I mean, that is dirt
Yes, sir, I can see.
and mud, and that's what they do all day. All day.
Would they be happy if it was raining?